came to Amherst in '82 and came here and worked at the middle school for a year as a social studies teacher.
Wow.
Then I went into guidance for a couple of years at Pelham and another year at Marks Meadow, and then 4 years at Crocker Farm, all in the guidance position. And then after that, I became principal at Crocker Farm School, and I was there for 18 years. So that's my Amherst living and working
18
experience.
years as a principal?
Yes.
Wow, that's a long time. Okay, okay.
So then I retired and started doing different things. I primarily teaching and training school leaders and also coaching them. So that's kind of my world right now.
So let's talk about that. What kind of coaching are you doing?
I'm doing executive leadership coaching for aspiring principals and serving principals right now. Right now I'm working with 6 individuals in 3 different districts, but I also work for the National Institute for School Leadership, which is a training and professional development institute for serving principals, and it's a national organization, and I work in Massachusetts for them as well. Well, right now I'm also working, as some who are viewing this will know, with Romney Associates and my wife, Dr. Pat Romney. So we're doing a lot of work on diversity and inclusion and equity in this particular district. We've been involved in some coaching, certainly some consulting and advising to the district and to individuals, and also most recently some training and professional development with schools and their staff. One thing I try to distinguish right off the bat is that when we're speaking about issues of equity, we're talking about a balanced playing field for all people. In this case, the school system, all children, teachers, and our community members as well. And we're not talking about equal necessarily, because equal is not always fair. So equity involves a lot of fairness in terms of resources, access, participation, those kinds of things. So that's what we're working towards. So trying to get to that point with people's understanding is the first phase of it. When I was principal of Crocker Farm School, we had other school, the 3 other schools in the district. We had Marks Meadow at that time. We had Crocker Farm. Well, it was Crocker Farm, Marks Meadow, Fort River, Wildwood, and of course Pelham. Now, different populations, different needs, different teachers, teaching styles, even different leadership with the different principals. And over that period of time, I also had 2 superintendents that I worked for. So there was one for 13 years, the other for 5. So we had a shift in the superintendency. So with all that going on, a lot of things changed. One of the things I found that as Crocker Farm began to grow, our needs began to shift. We became very much the growing point in our district for the ESL population and the ELL students and their families. And the Crocker Farm Elementary School had the largest number of students in that category, in those categories. So, for example, any other school compared against Crocker, if we did a student-by-student sort of per-student allotment, it'd all be based on how many students we had.
Right.
So if I had 300, someone else had 400, we'd get that amount of money per student. So a bigger school would get more money than me.
Right.
However, looking at my needs in terms of ESL in this particular case, although we had special education needs as well, resourcing for that is different. So with less students, you would think I would need less money. However, programming requires more money, more resources, including staff, including time, professional development. So an equitable arrangement might be, I may actually get more in some cases of certain resources than a school that's bigger than me. Equitable, not equal.
So equal makes certain assumptions.
Yes.
Across the board.
Yes.
Equitable compensates for where there are variables.
Yeah, equitable is a further reflection upon and a deeper understanding of where equal should take us, if that's the way I think about it. Yeah, when you get into equity, reflections on equity, then you're looking at deeper issues that are important to students and families and teachers. Equals very simple. Equals a simple math problem. But in Amherst in particular, we're a district who has for a number of years been trying to aspire to this this environment or have this climate that says we believe in equity, we believe in inclusion, we believe in an anti-biased environment for all who participate in this particular endeavor. We have equal access. We have all these things, which is a very large task to do for a school district that itself is experiencing many changes on an ongoing basis. So over the years, I've seen us work very hard on that. We've made some gains. We've flattened out at times. We've made some gains. We've gone down. It's gone up and down. It's sort of like the kind of like a stock market thing. But I have a feeling that because of the way our pursuits are going, that we're moving up, even though it's jagged. And one of the things that Amherst is good at, and I might say needs to get better, is letting people know what we're doing well and what's working.
Yeah.
I don't think many school districts are able to say that well, including us at times. Whenever you act, people should be able to see your vision coming true at some point down the line in your work, or becoming apparent in your work. So if I'm a teacher and I say, I believe in having my kids have full access to everything they possibly can to be successful, regardless of how they come into my classroom. What does that look like? It's one thing to say that, no one doubts the belief or the intent there, but strategically you have to show that. There's some things that you do, things that you say, things that you think about and reflect upon, things you talk about with parents and staff that demonstrate what your vision is. So that might look very different from one teacher to the other, but if you say you believe in equal access and you don't call on a child for an entire day in a classroom, you're denying access. If you don't ask the child questions or give them the same opportunities as other children, you're denying their the level of participation you want to have in that classroom. So you're not living out your strategic intent around this, and it becomes apparent that what you're saying is not what you actually are doing. So I think it's an ongoing thing. Everywhere we go, in our interactions, in how we study as professionals, how we train as professionals, how we talk to each other as professionals, how we question as professionals, says something about our work. And I think we're not there in some cases with many folks. We'd like to be there, and I'm sure they would like to be there at some point. I don't think anyone just honestly resists at some point. Maybe they do, but I haven't seen any in my work. I see people who struggle and get confused. I struggle and get frustrated, but I haven't seen them leave the table yet. So this is visionary work, and our intent has to be out there all the time in actionable ways that people can see. The hardest things to do is to break that barrier for many people who find themselves, and sometimes it feels like it's almost like they don't have any other choice in their own mind, blaming other people for the condition that they are in. Well, I can't work with that child because, and then there's a grocery list of reasons why. And I've said before in conversations and also in some of the trainings I said when we point the finger at someone or something, it gives us a convenient excuse to fail. Everybody brings a different story to the table.
Yes.
So my experience around school and schooling might be very different from yours. It might be, hey, I had a tough experience in school, so I'm a little wary of school stuff, even as a professional.
Right.
I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little jaded. But you may have come from a situation where everything was great, from preschool all the way through. You were very blessed with lots of resources. The teachers were all wonderful, and everybody acted together. So you come into that place in a different place. Now we're on the same staff working together.
Yes.
What story are you bringing to your experience as a teacher as opposed to what I'm bringing?
Yeah.
And that defines some of the ways people interact and respond. How you get people to change their mindsets, and we're working on some of that now. Actually, there's a program I work in with the Mass Elementary School Principals Association, and one of the elements of that is looking at growth mindsets for adults. How do you get people from fixed mindsets into growth mindsets?
Right.
It's a big leap for some. Some people are right on the precipice and they just need to be nudged, and they're there. Other people, you're dragging them from one end of the spectrum all the way up, and it's because they're very fixed and very determined to stay where they are because it's comfortable, it's familiar, and to break out of that means they have to do something different. And change is not something that people wear well at times. Yeah. Difference in some people's eyes translates immediately to possibly dysfunctional.
Right.
And difference is not dysfunction. Difference is difference.
Yes.
And because someone looks, sounds, feels, appears different from another, doesn't mean that there's anything wrong there to start with. So we've got to first start from a premise that everything is okay, at least. And it may not be may not be okay all the way around. But let's just start with the fact that okay, meaning that the child is a learner, is capable of learning, is capable of high achievement, is all of that stuff. That's what they bring through the door, even though they look different, sound different. So a skilled teacher needs to have their values and their work ethic in place to understand that first, and really understand it, not saying, oh yeah, well I get that, sure. You get it, sure, but do you understand a child's story?
How do you know the difference between somebody who says they get it and they seem pretty convincing?
That's the work.
That's the work.
That's the work, because if you say you get it, then how do you demonstrate that? And then sometimes people say, well, I do this, this, and this, and 2 out of those 3 are probably not the best things to do. So they come with good intent. So the training is around what's an appropriate interaction, what's an appropriate response to the audience in front of you. They're here in Amherst. There are many, many, many strong teachers. And I say they're strong in this way. They're very successful with students of all ethnic groups and language groups. They're very successful because they've learned how to tap in and really honor, respect, and acknowledge what children are bringing to school, and they work with that. But they are the ones who actually do the constant learning. We throw on this term lifelong learning.
Is that because of the interest in the?
Because they're professional in that way. They don't settle. They don't think that I'm
always striving for more.
I've made it. Yeah. Because a few evaluations have told me I'm a good teacher.
Wow.
Or I've made it because I now have I've been here 3 years and I have professional status, and they just kind of sit at that level. These teachers are constantly striving to understand more, do more, get better. There are many teachers in this district, I'm sure, some of them I'm known because I'm thinking of them as I'm speaking about it, who, if you didn't have any training, they train themselves. They would seek the resources needed to do the kind of work they need to do because they see what's in front of them.